Hi, this is Zachlog the Great. So, in the realm of good news, anti-Islam activist Tommy Robinson has been released from prison. He was arrested May 25th and almost immediately imprisoned for contempt of court, and he was released August 1st. I made a video about his arrest and imprisonment at the time, and I said, and I stand by the assertion that because of the enemies he has made, he would almost certainly be dead if he served out his sentence. Approximately 1 month after his arrest, Tommy Robinson was transferred from Hull Prison, where he was relatively safe, to Onley, which has a much higher Muslim population. Now, to be fair, some reports uh, apparently significantly overstated the Muslim population of that prison. Um, I do not know if this was intentional or the result of a misunderstanding. Uh, so uh, that was unfortunate. But after Robinson's transfer, for his own protection, he was put into solitary confinement. Um, this was further complicated by the fact that Muslim prisoners who did work at the prison were at least partly responsible for his meal preparation, and they taunted him about the implications of that. As a result of this, Tommy Robinson only ate sealed food that he could purchase from the commissary, and he had a very limited um, supply, and lost 40 pounds since May. So, all of this, I'm sure, is perfectly normal when someone is arrested and imprisoned for contempt of court. In my earlier video, I appealed to white nations, and I said that our governments appear to have the goal of displacing and destroying us in our own countries. Some people have disputed this claim, this assertion, and so I'll elaborate a little bit. For just an individual, just one person to survive, among many other things they need, that person needs a home, and that person needs an identity, a story. Um, and in this context, when I'm talking about identity, I mean a clear, coherent story to explain who you are and how you got here and what your purpose is. Um, Obviously, depending on the person, their identity can be more or less rooted in reality. Hopefully, your identity is largely based on the truth, but I'm sure all of us lie to ourselves to some degree. Now, an individual needs this, and in order to survive, a group needs the same things. A group uh, of any kind needs to have a home and needs to have an identity. Um, and the simple fact is that white people's home countries are being given away out from under us, and often against the loud protests of many of the populations of these countries. And if you disagree with me on this, I would like you to name one majority white nation which is not being pressured to accept immigrants and quote unquote refugees. I mean, okay, Russia. Okay, Russia, as far as I know, is not experiencing significant pressure to accept immigrants or refugees, but that's pretty much because everyone knows that Russia is going to do what they want to do, and everyone else can screw off. Um, every country in the European Union either is being compelled to accept immigrants, or if they resist, as some Eastern European nations like Poland and Hungary are, um, they are roundly castigated and threatened with sanctions of various forms. It is interesting to note that if you look at a map of terrorist attacks in Europe over the last 10 years or so, um, those Eastern European countries which reject these quote unquote refugees are strangely free of terrorist attacks. There's not a lot of them going on there. And this doesn't apply just to countries. Um, if you look at the United States, even down to the state level, Iowa, the states of Iowa and Vermont are characterized as too white, and this needs to be fixed. Can anyone, can anyone name one non-white nation experiencing this? One non-white nation experiencing, being told you have to accept tens, hundreds of thousands of people radically foreign to your culture, many of them intensely hostile to your culture, who do not look like you and who do not respect you. I'm unaware of it. I mean, if we go back, 100, 200 years, sure. But I'm talking about today. This goes further down even than like the state level, even at the neighborhood level. Um, President Obama used the Department of Housing and Urban Development to force, majority white neighborhood suburbs to accept poor and minority residents. And you might think, well, what's the harm in that? That not going to do anything. Except for those of you familiar with the work of Robert Putnam, racial and ethnic diversity destroys social trust and social capital. People don't trust their neighbors, and people are less willing to be involved in the community. They contribute less. They help out their neighbors less. They just kind of close in. So that's the wonderful benefits of diversity. As I said, in order for a people to survive, two of the things they need are a home and an identity. And we've talked about the home. Um, White people are also being painted out of our own histories. The BBC, um, puts out this picture and this story, imagining interracial families in Roman Britain. Some left-leaning historian will find one Muslim or Jewish soldier in the American Revolution and pretend this means that these people contributed exactly as much and are exactly as much a part of the country as white Christians. Our children are, when taught about our history, are only taught about slavery and colonialism and genocide and how white people just mistreated everybody. We're never taught that everyone had slaves, and it was only white people who decided, at significant cost to themselves, to put a stop to it. We are told repeatedly that white people have no culture. White people have no culture. The the people who produced Homer and Aristotle and Dante and Shakespeare and Leonardo da Vinci and Johann Sebastian Bach and Johann Gutenberg, the entire scientific revolution, the Magna Carta, the 300 at Thermopylae, the Cathedral of Notre Dame, Ferdinand Magellan circumnavigating the globe, human beings landing on our moon. White people have no culture? It it would be far more reasonable to ask if anyone else has a culture. But what are our children taught? Our children aren't taught about heroes, only about shame. White children who absorb the lessons of public schools and absorb the lessons of the mass media are taught that their very existence is a crime. Yes, I think there is a clear and concerted effort to destroy and displace white people in our own nations. And honestly, there's a fair bit more I could say about this. I wanted to keep this relatively concise. I wanted to keep kind of a theme. So, but I don't know what else to call these things. And I'm sure some self-righteous SJW twerp will, say I'm just another angry white man about, upset about losing his privilege. I honestly, if it were just me, I don't care. I'll survive. Whatever. You know, I've got another 40, 50 years here. Whatever. It's not just about me. I've got 2 sons who have to grow up in this world. There's a lot of other white kids out there who are being told that they are dirt simply because of how they were born. And who are being turned into a despised minority in their own nations. Someone has to speak up. This is my part. God be with you.